Hi everyone, a massive warm welcome to today's Altcoin Bible. Just a reminder, tomorrow I'll be releasing our video update on our top 10 portfolio that we release at the end of every single month if you're a newsletter subscriber. So I always enjoy those sessions. I go through the top 10, look at the charts, maybe look at something might be replacing and bringing in. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, always a lot of fun, those episodes. Now, just a reminder guys, this is the shorter episode of the Altcoin Bible. If you want to watch the extended edition, where today I actually went into some headwinds that I see for the market in this kind of area. We're pulling back really nicely, but there are some macro machinations at play, some things I'm concerned about. I think the election is going to be this contraction, we'll likely see this contraction of capital, that is, unless we break through beforehand. But I think there's going to be some hesitancy as we lead into the election, and I talk about portfolio allocation, risks, how to kind of approach it in a strategic way, and go from there. Also look at narratives, why certain things are running and others aren't. So yeah, there's lots I cover in it, and I think you'll find it valuable. All right, let's get into my one to watch, cheer up, and danger zone. Today is actually SUI. So SUI is my danger zone, and I believe Tim mentioned the bearish divergence in the graduates group. So great eye, Tim, seeing that as it was developing and being on alert about it. And it's always a good idea to have the upside and downside strategy on a chart or in a position you're in sort of mapped out. Now, the downside was really obvious with the bearish divergence. The upside was also there, and the idea is when something is really, really strong in an uptrending market, we see continuation, which is sometimes going to be likely in the bullish environment. We likely have this as a rising channel that breaks up. So in bull markets, these rising channels generally break up. But it just doesn't look like we have the juice yet, and we're seeing a lot of capital rotation from SUI now into Solana. So there's some clear movements going on, and we have the breakdown, the confirmation of the bear divergence now, through this region. Also the RSI breaking down a little bit. I wouldn't want to see it lose the 50. If it does, then I think the buy zones are definitely in place. Now, what I've done, kind of taken the guesswork out of it for you guys. Now that we're seeing this breakdown, which is very obvious, this needs to find a floor where it just stops. Now, I've layered in some bids here personally where I'm really interested into this liquidity. Can go lower. I'd be very surprised if it comes back to the breakdown. I mean, that would be a really big flush, but anything is possible. We lead into possibly the most consequential event for financial markets coming up, which is that US election. And I do say in my full version that I do believe the winds of change have, well and truly shifted towards Trump. So markets are trying to price that in. The bond market is suggesting that Trump presidency is likely. So yeah, there's lots at play here, and we could see a bit of a sell the news leading into the election. So I'm just a little bit cautious across the board. There's some very easy overhead areas where if we crack back up and we close above it, happy days, you go back in really aggressive and move high with it. But it just makes a bit of sense to be a little bit risk averse in this environment. So I've got those buy zones layered all the way down. You can see here as well that the RSI is just really following that bearish divergence down. So again, until I see a bit of a change in pattern, and maybe the smaller timeframes of 4 hour, the 1 hour, see some divergences pop up, I think these are all in play a little bit lower. So that's where I see SUI at this stage. I think it's absolutely one to stay conscious of on your watch list, because these early movers, they're often prime. These uptrends are for buying, these big dips that they give you, they're for buying. So absolutely see maybe something like this happening, and then we grind out, and we can, it may not be that long. I mean, it's a fairly long consolidation, but I think big dip down, get some new liquidity, wind back up, and then we go in, and then the market capital and rotations will start to move again. But this definitely wants to have a puke moment by the looks. Now, in my longer version, guys, as well, I cover FET and APTOS as part of this. I'm going to look at Beam today, which is my one to watch for sure. So gaming narrative seems really, really strong at the moment. It's off the grid. I did write about that in my newsletter last week. So if you haven't read about gaming and how I think crypto gaming might have that killer app finally, which we've all been waiting for, I'm thinking the gaming infrastructure plays are really, really interesting to watch here. Now, Beam's showing a little bit of strength here, which I love. So the higher highs, higher lows, doing exactly what we want it to be doing. It's having another challenge of the 200. I'd love to see tomorrow the daily close above that 200. If it doesn't, could be problematic. We come back down, but if it does, then I think this upward surge is going to continue. We're going to try and make a higher high. Ultimately, though, it's one to watch because the safest place now is only a few percentage points away, is to wait for this kind of move. Find it above that support, closing that region, and then get really, really aggressive when it moves. There's lots of room in the RSI above as well. So the power zone's above, but it's only at 63 on the RSI. So there's lots to like about Bean, but a little bit to work through here. I'm sure it comes back down at some point, maybe 1848, that kind of region. But it's had a really big move today, which is nice. All right, Solana today is my cherry ripe. Guys, how I love to look at more lower risk, especially in this environment where we're kind of on the edge of our seats, a lot of anticipation for new highs. Derivatives are going to play their games. Supply is going to come in above. It's not going to be simple the first time for a breakout. So there is a lot of opportunity here. If you're seeing a lot of exuberance, a lot of excitement for one direction to emerge, we're likely going to see some levels get hit below. But what we want to be watching for right now is relative strength. Now, Solana fits that bill. It is one of the few that is really strong against Bitcoin because it's closed above the 200-day moving average versus Bitcoin. Also running against ETH, not very hard to do these days. It's also running against SUI and other layer ones. So there's a real sense of strength here around SOL, and it hasn't really moved. Dips have been really aggressively bought, and I think here you can see why, because this Solana compression sideways, it's got a very clear lid in the mid-range right here. Bang, bang, bang. This kind of resist with tap, 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 and then the breakdown here. It's been very well adhered to all the way through. We've actually cracked back above it with a really strong green candle close there. And it is just coming to back test the breakout. So this just, again, looks really, really strong. And I think this is a great candidate because of the strength against Bitcoin. We're seeing a lot of capital rotation into it. People are placing their bets, potential Trump presidency in some of these layer ones. That's my view. As kind of like a beta leverage play. But if we see Solana take off, which I think is only a matter of time here, as long as Bitcoin finds its floor pretty soon, 66, 65, this downward trend line here at about 183 is probably the last thing that maybe gives it a little bit of a blunted nose before it runs off to 200, and it's about time. So that's my view here, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and look forward to our session tomorrow. So see you later. Bye-bye.